Welcome back to Women, Wine and Wisdom, guys. I'm Naomi.
I'm Jimmy.
And today we are going to be talking about networking.
Yes, I love that topic. I mean, I feel like I love every topic, but we're going to kind of do it in two parts. So we're going to talk about networking in general and then networking as a Black ethnic minority.
Yeah.
So two parts. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I guess we've all heard the saying, your network is your net worth.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. So Naomi, what does networking mean to you?
So networking, we can...
Wait, hold on a minute. Wine.
Hey, guys, how dare we?
How dare you?
No, how dare we? It's a partnership.
100%. Okay.
So, guys, let's introduce our wine of today. Our wine choice of today is a Trivento Argentinian Malbec.
Tell them about it.
So, here
she always does.
So, we're going to pour.
Can't wait to hear the...
You might have to wait a long while because I can't open it.
Should I try, babe?
I think you should.
Okay, let me try.
Do you know what happened, guys? I actually just creamed my hands, so don't mind me. I'm actually strong.
I believe it.
Oh, look at that colour.
Yeah, very deep.
Very deep. Very, very deep.
Okay, so as we are cracking open the wine, and obviously...
Oh.
Okay.
We're being mannerless today, I've noticed. We're being mannerless.
Okay, I'm not even sipping it.
Yeah, you just smell. Okay.
Cheers, babes.
Cheers, guys. Okay. We'll let you know our thoughts halfway through. Make sure you tune in.
Okay, so let's kick it off. Okay. What does networking mean to you?
Oh, what is networking to me? Networking is an opportunity to meet new people.
Okay.
I mean, for me, it's a social event. No, I'm joking. It's an opportunity to meet new people. I would say networking puts you in the position to meet people of value.
Okay.
It gives you the opportunity to grow as an individual.
Yeah. You're talking about the benefits right now. I mean, I said, babe, what's networking to you? And here she is diving in to the benefits. No, but go ahead.
Anyone who knows me knows that I go off on a tangent.
Talk your talk, girl.
But I think networking basically puts you in a room with individuals that gives you the opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how I'll summarize it.
Okay, networking to me, essentially, again, like you said, is the opportunity to grow, but it's just, again, building your social network personally and professionally. That's the way I would put it.
Yeah, you summed it up nicely. I was there trying to give all these little nuggets, but you summed it up nicely.
But the thing is, it works perfectly because I know people be like, Jimmy, you're so direct. So I feel like it's the perfect balance. So yeah, that's how I would, I mean, you know me straight up, I would describe it as that.
Yeah.
And some of the benefits that you touched on already. So like, what are the benefits to you? And do you think there's a difference? I love questions, honestly.
You do. I feel like I'm in an interview, guys.
Do you think there's a difference when networking as an individual, as a Black ethnic minority?
This is where it gets interesting.
Yeah.
It depends.
Okay.
It really depends because I feel like there are a lot of events.
Yeah.
Networking events, that is, that are put on by Black people or ethnic minorities.
There is a lot of them now.
Minorities, guys. Ethnic minorities.
Yeah.
So I feel like because Black people are usually at the head of organising some of these events or ethnic minorities, I feel like 9 times out of 10, networking as a Black person is not always that difficult. Having said that, I think when you're in your company and you're trying to network and get to know people, I think that's then a different ball game.
Love that, because that's very, very true.
Yeah. And I think like it's very important to network in your workplace, be able to, you know, it's important to get to know other people outside of your kind of like your team, your day-to-day team.
Yeah.
So I remember I had an event once and one of my speakers said that in order for her to grow, she really put herself out there. She reached out to, you know, different people in different teams who are at the level that she wanted to be at. And she said, look, can I invite you to coffee?
Yeah.
You know, she invited them out. She took them out and said, can I take you to coffee? I mean, obviously they paid in the end, but the point was that she understood that she was in a company that she wanted to grow in. And she was happy to reach out to the people at the top to, you know, get to know them a bit more and also make herself seen.
Yeah.
Like, it's very important. You don't want to be just another number in a company. And the only way to do that is by either being recognized for your work, which sometimes goes amiss, or the other way is to go down, you know, really standing out and going to those meetings or inviting them to a meeting. And I think one thing that a lot of people don't realize with networking is it's very easy to kind of go into a networking environment and just have nothing to say other than, I want to be like you.
Okay. I've actually got some counter questions to that.
Okay.
However, no, we're not going to get there yet. We're not going to get there yet because everything you said is factual. And what I think, there's a question I wanted to ask, but I'm going to ask it later because I think it'll be more relevant later. Okay. But before we get into that question, what do you think are the benefits of networking just in general?
Oh, I think it goes on. I think there's a lot of benefits to networking, and I'm actually going to read some. So bear with me, guys.
In the meanwhile, while Naomi's checking for her notes, I actually have a really interesting thing to say about networking. I feel like a lot of people feel like networking is just, you know, going into rooms sometimes or just adding people on social networks. And actually, that's not networking. Yeah, I feel like networking always requires a follow-up. So if you meet somebody in a room, you need to follow that up with something.
100%.
If you message somebody on LinkedIn, for example, or you message somebody on Instagram, it needs to be followed up with a personal message. Like, you know what I mean? It can't just be, oh my God, I added her on LinkedIn, we're networking. No, that's just not how it works. But
yeah, that's basically like saying, oh, I went to the gym for one day this week. That's it. I've worked out. No, it's not effective.
Actually, that's literally
it's not effective.
Not effective is exactly it. Not effective.
So you need to, networking is also about building a rapport.
Yes.
I'm sure you lot have heard it. If you're in a professional environment, you've heard build a rapport. But it's very important. It's all about building relationships. So, and a relationship is not built by just kind of tapping on someone's shoulder and asking for their number.
Yeah.
It's all about kind of keeping constant communication flow and, you know, checking in on them and regular chats here and there. Otherwise you become forgotten.
Literally forgotten.
So so definitely those regular chats. But I would say some of the benefits is with networking, it includes stronger professional ties.
Okay, love that.
So you have better professional relationships.
Yeah.
And I know I have benefited from that personally, where
I absolutely have
somebody in the workplace has turned around and said, if you need a reference, if you need, you know, I don't know, if you need me to put you in touch with so-and-so.
Yeah.
If you need any direction on how to do this, or they just have time for you. And I've also seen it go the other way where people don't have good relationships with people and it just goes left.
Yeah.
It goes left. They're talking about you in every meeting about how bad you are. So please, just respect yourself.
Respect yourself, exactly.
Oh, I know it says accept yourself. But also, like, just to piggyback off what I just said, it gives you access to job opportunities.
Yes.
So by networking, and I've seen it before where I used to work with one guy and he left the company that he was working for and he was able to get a job in another company because of an old relationship he had with somebody.
Yeah.
So, and when I say relationship, I don't mean a sexual relationship. I just mean like a general relationship. He had a friendship with somebody else and they remember him.
Yeah.
And so when a job opportunity came up, they said, are you available for this job? So that's another benefit to networking.
Yeah.
Gained knowledge. You learn so much from networking.
Yep.
You know, a lot of the times when you're in networking environments, you know, you meet like-minded people who maybe have the same ambition as you or maybe are a bit higher up in the food chain as you. And so they are willing to provide some knowledge to a situation that you may not be able to get anywhere else. Maybe where you are, you're a bit stagnant.
Yep.
So gain knowledge is definitely another benefit. And social skills. I mean, it's a given. Like being able to socialize and like, you know how to thrive and be seen in a certain environment can be a massive benefit. So yeah.
Love that.
What are some of yours?
Yeah, no, really interesting. So a lot of mine are very, very similar to yours. I think one thing I want to touch on regarding the jobs is when you network well, you have access to a hidden job market. So like, yes, there might opportunities might pop up, but sometimes jobs are created for you.
Ooh.
So I think that's one thing.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
And the thing is, funnily enough, I was in an environment where that was the case.
Okay.
Where, like,
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this lady wanted to, I mean, she went to bat. She said, what do you want us to pay you?
That's it.
Like, what do you, like,
Yeah.
almost like, I'll do anything. Like, we want to get you in our team.
Yeah.
So networking with the right people can create job opportunities that are not available or visible to other people. Come on, Jimmy, speak on it.
That's good. Yeah. Thank you. One thing as well about networking is it makes you noticeable.
Yes.
So depending on who you are, what it is that you do, it makes you noticeable to the masses.
Yeah.
A lot of the time we have to work again, and this is one of the questions I was going to actually ask you earlier. So as a Black ethnic minority, do you sometimes feel that you have to outwork your counterparts? Or do you feel some people feel that way?
It's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been in environments where I've been with other ethnic minorities.
Yes.
And so I don't necessarily feel like I've always had to outwork my counterpart, but
which is interesting.
But not to take away from that, because I also have been in situations where rather than being promoted up, they've brought in somebody above.
That's definitely
so they've gone
to me.
outside and brought somebody in. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
but then I'm thriving in the sense that they see me as the person with the most value to the team. So losing me is like, no. How can we keep you? Yeah. Do you see what I mean? How can we even bring you back to the team? But then my thing is, well, no. Why were you willing to lose me?
Yeah, so I've actually been in a similar situation. So they didn't bring somebody in externally. What they did is promoted one of my counterparts. And it was interesting because a lot of the people that were working with us were like, why did she get the job? So sometimes I have actually felt that I've had to outwork my counterparts. But then other times I'm like, no, it's fine. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it does really depend. So yeah, another thing I think as well is high profile contacts. And networking can be amazing. So a while ago when I was applying for jobs, actually, before I got my current job, a lady interviewed me, and I'm going to shout her out because her name's Robin, and we still talk on LinkedIn. But again, so what happened was she was actually interviewing me for a job. And what I realized when we were talking, because how you always say, I need to ask questions to figure out whether this job's for me. When we were speaking, what I realized was that job was not for me, but we ended up having a really interesting conversation. Yeah. And one thing she did for me that has really, really benefited me, and I've used that to help other people, is she said to me, she's like, you are really interesting as a person. And your CV is not going to get you the attention that you need. What I want to do for you is review it and add points. And I think you should change your CV and update it. And let me tell you, when she updated my CV and said to me, make these corrections, I was getting way more follow-up, way more feedback than before. Yeah. And since then, from the skills I learned from her, I have also been able to use that to help other people with their CVs. Let me tell you, let's speak on it, because that is actually a very good point. I think there was somebody who reached out to me who's also a recruiter. Okay. Yeah. They instantly was just like, I'm going to get you the best opportunity I can get you. Yeah. Tell me what you want. And I was like, I was a bit hesitant because I was like, in my industry, I don't know if some of the wants that I have are necessarily available. And the person was just like, no. Tell me what you want. Yeah. With my contacts and my access, with my network. Yeah. Network is your network. With my network, I can definitely create this job that you want. Okay. Because you have the ability. And that just came from a basic conversation. From just having a basic conversation, not trying to oversell myself too much. But when people see value in you, they will definitely try to
help you and build you. And so networking with the right individuals can open so many doors. And that's why for me it's so, it's so important to be personable, to have likability, because when people like you, they want to do more for you.
They want to help you.
They want to help you.
Yeah, they want to support you.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And how do you feel like, or how do you think we can make ourselves more likable? Because again, for me, I actually couldn't tell you what it was that me and Robin, for example, were having this conversation that made her decide to, you know what? I want to help you.
Do you know what? I think it's it's a bit of an interesting one, because I feel like you are who you are. I think you can only be yourself ultimately, and people will either like you. I mean, I've worked with other recruiters who couldn't care less. They're just trying to get a paycheck. Yeah. But there's some, there will be some recruiters who genuinely feel like, do you know what? You're actually a cool person. So I'm going to go that extra mile. And likewise in other spaces, in even working environments as well, it's very hard to kind of say what you kind of should do. I think a lot of it will come down to who you are at the end of the day.
Yeah, but I agree.
But the things that I feel like you could probably develop on would be things like just not being so scared, just putting yourself out there a little bit more, just speaking to that person. Like, everyone started from somewhere. And I think one thing I've noticed is you'd be surprised how many people at the top are willing to help. They're willing to share knowledge. They're willing to give back. And so don't be too scared to approach people, to learn more from them, and to, be exposed to more information, basically. But just to kind of cut into that.
I was going to piggyback off that, but yeah.
But it's wine o'clock. You're going to hold that thought.
I hope I remember the thought after this wine.
You need to hold that thought. We are going to do wine o'clock, guys. Okay. So, Jimmy, let me know what your thoughts are on the wine.
Strong smell. Nice, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not as nice as some of our other wines. Our Dragon Hills Pinot Noir was wonderful. So I would say this is more of a 7 for me. Okay. 6.57. Very deep red. Almost a berg. Deep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Do you know what? I quite enjoy this wine.
Yeah.
I feel like it is really nice.
Yeah.
It's a Malbec, which is typically full-bodied, but
it's still got a bit of a lightness to it.
It's still got a bit of a lightness to it. It's not too, it's not too crazy. I feel like this is, I could probably drink this after work.
Oh, really?
Yeah, without anything. Oh, really? I can drink this after work with probably, maybe some, if you're Nigerian, with granite or something.
Can you imagine? She didn't even say crisps. She didn't say popcorn as she usually says. The granite. Also known as peanuts, by the way, guys.
Whatever, man. But I think this is quite an easy, red to drink after work. You're just having a chilled evening with your girl, I probably wouldn't have more than 2 glasses, just because I feel like this is probably could easily creep on you.
I can definitely imagine it creeping on you, though.
I can imagine it creeping.
I really do like 6.57.
Yeah.
So there was a vegan wine we had, guys, and that was wonderful. You'll probably see that in one of our other episodes, but this is really nice too.
It is. It really is. But yeah, definitely purchase. We'll link the description of the wine in our comment section, so check it out.
Yeah.
But yes, going back.
Okay, so going back to networking. It's interesting for me because obviously, like I said, it does depend on how personable you kind of are. And it goes back to our topic and being a people's person and being good at your job as well, kind of. But I've definitely been in environments and I'm like, I feel kind of uncomfortable. And for me, the best thing that actually helps me to network in an environment like that was to do some prior knowledge research.
That's very important, yeah.
Yeah, so for example... And it depends on what kind of networking event we're going to. So, for example, if it was a work networking event, I'm going to probably research up on some of those clients.
100%.
I'm going to probably go to them, for example, with some questions to ask.
100%. 110%.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know me, I love a question.
You love a question. But you know what? It's good because I feel like you always get the information that you need. I'm a little bit more like, I will ask you 3-4 questions and then I'm trying to keep it moving.
Which is also good. You're not kind of, because that's another thing. When you go to networking events, you don't want to be stuck on just one person. Open up your, there might be somebody who you're not really interested in, maybe like somebody on the panel who spoke and you're just like, that person's just whatever. But the reality is, make sure that you talk to everyone in the room. You don't know what value somebody can bring to you. You might go to an event where somebody is, the most amazing hairstylist or whatever in the world, and so everyone's trying to talk to that person, but somebody's missing a trick here. There's somebody in that in the corner who may be a marketing specialist or a business specialist, or do you know what I mean? So don't kind of shy away from not talking to everybody in the room. Definitely talk to everyone. But sorry.
And basically you never know who you're going to meet and who's going to help you.
Yeah,
that's the thing. So I definitely agree to talk to everyone.
Yeah.
Try to do some prior knowledge research. Obviously you're not going to know everyone in the room. So obviously go with some questions that you can just ask anybody. One thing, so originally, like just about a couple of minutes ago, I said sometimes I felt uncomfortable in those environments. And what I've realized as well, like with time and as I've grown as a person, I now understand that it's really important for me to sometimes be the representation in the room. So, and when I say that, sometimes a lot of the time, I will walk into a room and maybe a networking event and I'm the only black woman in that room.
Wow.
So, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's not going to be other black men in that room. Or other black women, for example. So let's say there was another one. I don't know they're going to be there, but what I want to do is make sure that they feel comfortable. So I have now learned that it's really important to be the representation in that room, regardless.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you think about that?
No, I think it's quite interesting.
Okay.
I think a lot of the events that I've ended up going to, I do think generally speaking are put on by ethnic minorities.
And is that personal or professional?
Usually personal.
Yes.
In professional environments, it's usually put on by other ethnic groups. But I've walked into the room. There was one that I went to with my workplace the other day. My manager invited me to it, and not my manager, my director, sorry. And my director is very good at bringing me to things. Like
I love that.
He does not. I mean, not to say he doesn't see color, because I mean, I'm sure everyone does, but he still doesn't mind he doesn't care to bring me to these environments,
which is amazing.
Of course, and I appreciate it so much. But I think it's also because it also needs to be represented. He's from the LGBT community, so he LGBTQ plus community.
Yes,
and so he also needs to be represented. He also needs to be seen, and so I think he naturally has some sort of care to people who are also in a minority group. And so and maybe I'm just talking out of turn. Maybe that's not the case, but I feel like I kind of feel like that's probably what it is. But he invites me.
Do you know what? It might just be he has more of an understanding.
Yeah, it could be an understanding.
Yeah, 100%.
I really respect it, because in previous companies I wasn't always invited to these kind of events. But when I go there, I am certainly the minority, and I feel it.
Yeah, exactly. And how do you deal with that? Because I've actually recently written an article about this, and in that article, I basically say that I sometimes just need a 5-minute break. Because I'm like, because again, this brings me to another thing. And it's interesting because me and my manager have spoken about this before. And it's the term code switching. And a lot of people haven't heard of that term before.
Explain what code switching is to the people, please.
So it's like, it's not at home you're kind of one person, or honestly, if you hear what goes on in my headphones sometimes, you would be like, who is that person? But when we go into work, we're a different personality almost. We're a different persona, because there's certain ways in which we don't want to be perceived. And maintaining that all day is actually kind of exhausting sometimes. And so do you feel, or when you're in the workplace, that we have to do that? Because at networking events, I do feel like we are code switching 80% of the time.
I would probably say so.
Yeah.
I think it depends. I think it's kind of like, what does your environment make you feel comfortable being?
And that's a good point.
Because
And I love that point.
Yeah.
I've got something to ask you about that. But yes, go on.
This teacher, but I feel like if your workplace allows you to be comfortable in who you are and accepting of who you are, then I feel like more people will feel comfortable to express themselves in their natural habitat.
Good point. Now, I've definitely got a counter to this. And I think it's really interesting because I completely agree in that aspect. However, do you not feel like there are many companies that on the surface do that? Because if we go into a lot of companies now, so diversity and inclusion is a really, really big thing. It's a big topic. And we have,
So they say, but go on.
Thank you. And that's where I'm going. So they say. Now, for me, we can have 10 ERG groups and we can have all of these environments that you make us feel comfortable in. But if I walk into work, right, and I don't see any members of, for example, leadership, management, or even just generally, anyone that looks like me, are you really following through on what you're saying you're going to do?
100% not. And this is a topic that we can really speak on.
Dive into, yeah.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the times I don't see representation at the top. And so when people don't see that at the top, from a networking aspect, how do they feel comfortable to network with people more senior? Because people do tend to want to go to people who have done, like, who are in their shoes, who can identify with them.
Exactly.
And then if those people at the top are ethnic minorities, but they're very uppity and they're very much like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. They're going to be like, I can't relate with you.
And I've got a personal example about this. So a while ago, when I was in a particular job, when I looked up, for example, there was people like me in leadership and in management. And there was a role that I didn't get, and it was an opportunity lost at that point.
Fine.
And what I did was I kind of went out and kind of networked with the leadership members and the management members that I felt I could relate to, that kind of looked like me. And I was wondering, how did you get to this position?
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was unfairly passed up for a job at that point in time. And in regards to that, I wasn't the only person that felt like I was unfairly passed up.
Yeah.
Other people and other ethnic minorities also felt that I was unfairly passed up. So when you look up and you don't see anybody that you can particularly relate to, sometimes it can be very difficult to network. And that's why I said earlier that sometimes when I walk into a room, I'm happy to be the representation. Yeah. I might feel uncomfortable. I might have to code switch. I might need a 5-minute break here and there. But you're going to see me in that room.
Yeah. So, but also you need to know that you have value. You're in that room for a reason.
Yeah.
So, like, just stand in who you are, stand in your truth. You know what you can deliver. You know what you can bring to the table. And so don't let the intimidation of, like, not seeing any representation in the room stop you from, thriving and networking with other people. Because, you'll be surprised there are some people who are not ethnic minorities who are willing to see more ethnics at the top
100%.
and be willing to help you and bridge that gap.
Yeah.
So, it's all, I think for me as well, it's all about connections and how you vibe.
Yes.
So ultimately it's like, if you kind of get on with somebody, if you kind of vibe with that person, then ultimately they should be able to bring you through. They may want to help you. They may want to keep in contact with you, keep in touch with you, and want to continue that relationship.
Yeah.
But a question for you.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
How would you advise people who are introverts who want to network? How would you advise them?
That's a really interesting question. And it's also a difficult question because, again, introvert or extrovert, most of the time people feel uncomfortable in networking environments. They're outside of their comfort zone. Yeah. Confidence is a muscle, and the more you push yourself outside of that comfort zone, the more likely you are to grow.
100%.
Again, prepare. I think preparation is key.
Yeah.
Start small.
Yeah.
Go to smaller networking events before you go to the bigger ones. Go with a buddy. I think there's a few things that introverts can do to kind of help themselves get there. But ultimately, it's a self-confidence thing as well.
Yeah.
Most of the time, people don't feel comfortable in those networking environments, especially if you're an ethnic minority.
Yeah.
And you're maybe one of 100 people. Because sometimes I've been in rooms and I'm like the only black woman and there's a room of 100 people.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So it's like, I'm not necessarily comfortable in that environment maybe, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to, I mean, you're going to see me because I'm going to stand out anyway. I'm going to stand out anyway, but I'm going to go prepared.
Yeah.
If I'm super uncomfortable, I'm going to go with a buddy.
Yeah.
I'm going to take those 5-minute breaks. I think I've said before on the podcast that I will go into a room, put some music in my ears, have a little dance, and then I'm going to come back out refreshed, revitalized. I'm like, you're going to get this question. Do you see what I mean? And that's the advice I would give. What would you say?
I would definitely say things like networking doesn't always have to be in person, in my opinion. And
Very
so
true.
I think you can even start with just an email. Emailing people, going on LinkedIn and utilizing that as a platform and networking, but trying to build that relationship and constant communication. So not that you just connect with them like Jimmy said earlier, but you are nurturing that relationship, and then eventually maybe build it to, should we go grab a coffee?
Yeah.
And also I think something to bear in mind is that you don't want to just take from someone.
I love that.
You also want to be able to give.
Yeah.
So, if you want to get something out of somebody, how about you invite them to coffee and pay?
Yeah. Do you know what? I think Stephen Bartlett actually talks about this on one of his episodes. And he was saying that if you want something from him, he either wants you to kind of stroke his ego in his own words.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, basically what he said. He's like, I think, he's like, I don't want to feel like you're lazy when you approach me for something.
Yeah.
So do your research.
Yeah.
Stroke the person's ego.
Yeah.
Ask them if they need something as well.
Yeah.
What is it that you're offering? What is it that you bring to the table? So I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. And even you can even be quite direct. Like, for example, it's not just, hi, I just want to learn how to be a marketing professional. That's rubbish. Like,
That's not gonna.
That's not
your email's getting ignored.
Yeah, you're definitely getting ignored. It will be things like, you've done, like you say, do a bit of research.
Yeah.
So, for example, like asking them like very pinpointed questions. It might be something about a post that they've posted. So it might say, oh, I was really interested in the post that you posted about this particular wine, for example. And
of course you'd say wine.
and I found it very intriguing. I noticed that you reached 20,000 people. You've now reached up to an additional 20% subscribers because blah, blah, blah. It's shown that you've done research. It shows that you're in tune with what they're doing. And it also makes them realize, oh, okay, you're reaching out to me for a particular person. When you're just reaching out to for a particular purpose, sorry. When you just reach out to somebody and just say, hi, I just want to be like you or whatever, like something very generic, you have to see that as just being like spam in their inbox.
Yeah, literally.
It's the same way you would just block and delete a message that comes through where they say, oh, hi, do you want to get to know more about investing? Or something silly like that. So, I mean, it's not quite silly, but you know what I mean. When it's just a random message. So you want to be a bit more personable with your message and make it a bit more tailored.
Yeah, and one thing I would also say as well is, whether you're introvert or extrovert, be willing to have uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
That is what's going to get you to the top.
Yeah.
Once you're not willing to have those uncomfortable conversations, you put yourself in a box.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. And for me, being willing to have uncomfortable conversations has actually got me quite a few pay rises. So ladies and gentlemen, talk your talk.
Talk your talk.
Ask those questions and be willing to have uncomfortable conversations. Again,
Absolutely.
It's one of those things where, yes, it's uncomfortable, but know your value and know your worth when you're in those environments.
Yeah, 100%. Know what you can bring to the table.
Yeah. Is there anything else I feel like that you feel like we should touch on regarding networking?
I feel like we've covered most of the points that I would have raised.
Yeah.
Anything else that you've got?
Let me check my notes. You know I love notes. So let me see if I've got anything else that like I find valuable that we can add to this. Let's see. Because I think we have actually covered most. But some of the things I've got down actually we've said actually already. Be willing to engage in difficult conversations, overcoming the lack of representation. So be the representation in the room. Professional development in terms of the skills that you learn, what you take away from it and how you can use that in your day-to-day personal and professional life. One thing that we haven't touched on that I thought was a really interesting fact, and I learned this in my old company on a training course. And it basically says exposure at these events counts for 60% of your success.
Yeah.
So it says 60% of exposure counts for your success. 30% is your image and how you look. And 10% is your performance. Only 10%. And it's crazy because in one of our previous episodes, we've spoken about being good at your job and a people's person. Whereas this clearly counters that. What do you think about that, about those percentages? Because I think it's a very interesting percentage and I see that it works for certain ethnic minority groups. However, I do feel like for Black ethnic minority groups, that percentage is slightly different.
I think it's different.
Yes.
I think it's different. I don't think that can be applied to everyone.
I completely agree.
Ethnic minorities.
100%.
I do believe that we do have to work the hardest in the room. And I have somebody in my, I know somebody who her performance is lackluster, but when she deals with, she's very much a people's person. And so people love her. People love to work with her. People love to she's got such a personable kind of aura about her. Yeah. People really love her. That's not getting her far.
I see.
It's not getting her far.
Okay.
And so I don't think it's all about that per se. I do feel like you do need to be able to also bring something to the table. She's not bringing anything to the table. So that 10% for me
doesn't work. I completely agree. I honestly feel like it's very different for ethnic minorities. 100%. Yeah. And in my experience, it's definitely not the case.
It's not.
Yeah. I've definitely been in roles and exposure has got me halfway.
Yeah.
Whereas my work ethic has got me a lot further.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's really interesting.
Exactly.
And go on.
No, I was just going to say, I think when you're in the room with people that you look up to, you admire, you want to be like, definitely have your chats with them. Even if you want to be a YouTuber or an influencer, you still need to work hard.
Absolutely.
Your personality will not carry you.
100%. Honestly, hard work for me is key. And I always say this, and if you know me, I always say, I want to be known for working hard rather than having a good personality.
Yeah. 100%.
Although I feel like I have a decent personality.
Yeah, it's a bonus. It should be a bonus. Like, you should definitely be who you are. You shouldn't fake it. You shouldn't force it. But, you want to be able to still network in a room and get the added benefits that come with it. 100%.
There's a lot of positives about networking. And it's not just adding somebody on social media.
No.
There is a lot of follow-up that is required in networking.
Yeah.
And some of the things, just to wrap it up from us, is be willing to have uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
Be the representation in the room. Anything else that we said we can?
Oh, I don't remember.
Go prepared. Go prepared to ask questions. Yeah. Don't feel look, even though exposure is 60%, depending on your ethnic minority group, it might slightly differ. And I'm trying to think what else. And actually attend these networking events.
Definitely.
Even if you're an introvert, push yourself. Because even extroverts feel uncomfortable sometimes in these environments. Take a 5-minute break and a breather if you need to.
I think also go with the aim of always making sure that you leave there with something.
Yeah.
So definitely take some notes. Go there with the aim of, okay.
You love notes, by the way.
Oh, I love it.
You love notes.
I have notebooks for days in different. As much as she's got Carmex, I've got notebooks.
Do you know what? I'm not gonna lie. I kind of looked for it here and I can't seem to find it. But the thing is,
are you stressing?
I know I am. I feel a little bit.
I think also, just to add, actually, is one thing that we didn't touch on earlier. And I know we're meant to be wrapping up, but I can't help but add extra. You know me.
Here we go.
So, what about networking amongst your peers? Do you feel like we should make sure, how they say birds of a feather flock together? Yes. Do you feel like being around the right circle of people could propel you forward?
100%. So first of all, let me tell you guys something. Yeah, I wrote this in my book.
Yeah.
20 nothing to 20 something. We're going to link that too.
Link it.
But secondly, if your closest 5 friends are losers, so are you.
Yeah.
That is just it, unfortunately. If your 5 closest friends are broke, probably so are you. That's that is just it. So like, if you honestly, that's why honestly, Jim Rohn, Les Brown, there's so many people that basically, Brian Tracy, all of them, they basically say, whatever it is you want to do or you want to be in life, find the 5 closest people, hang around with them, and that's where you're going to be. So Les Brown says, if your 5 closest friends are losers, so are you.
I literally
if your 5 closest friends are broke,
match and lit up a fire.
So are you. No, the thing is, I say this all the time, and I say this in talks. I've done talks at work. I've done talks at libraries, and it's true. If you look at your 5 closest friends, you are a representation of what they are.
But do you know what it is? I think when you look at it, like in the actual, like just when you just take a second to think about it, your 5 closest friends are probably the people that you talk to on a daily basis. And so they have a lot of influence on you. So
subconsciously or consciously.
So basically, just make sure that the people around you are pouring in wisdom and pouring in value into your life. You don't want to be around people who are just aimless and jobless. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because if they're aimless and jobless, well, maybe you are too. And that's what you have in common.
Not maybe.
So, but yeah, anyway, just to wrap it up, your net worth is your network. So, no. So your network is your net worth.
That's what you said.
No, I said your net worth is your network.
Okay. Do you know what? Cheers.
Cheers. Let's just cheers. Thank you, guys.